Hi, my name's Mike Palin. I run a charity called the 267 Project, and our charity's aim is really simple. It's a youth and children's work charity, and our hope is to, wherever we see youth and children's work, is to resource it, grow it, and celebrate it. That is our tagline. We want to resource, grow, celebrate wherever we see it. New ministry, old ministry, established ministry, small ministry, big ministry, paid ministry, volunteer ministry. That's what we want to do. And so I spend my time with youth and children's workers. A lot of the time I spend taking them out for breakfast because, over a meal is really key. And I love youth ministry. I do. But actually what I love more is the people that do the ministry, because I'm aware that we need to support those people because they're going out into the battle. They're going out into the sort of harvest field, and they're just doing youth work all the time. And having been a youth worker for a while, I know what you give as a youth worker. I know what it takes from you. I also know what you get from it. It is life-giving when you discover sort of your calling and your value. You almost have this wonderful mystery that happens where the way God has made you links with what he has called you to do, and then you actually do it, and you sort of come alive when you realise that you are a youth worker. Yeah, you're not paid to be a youth worker. You are a youth worker. And so I just wanted to, today, in this mad season that we've all journeyed, and we've all been through it in different ways, and it's jabbed at us in different ways, and we've all come through it or are coming through it with various learnings and scars and new understandings of life, ministry, family, ourselves, what it means to do, what it means to be. And I just want to give you three things I hope and I pray will encourage you, so that in a year's time, in 5 years' time, you're still doing youth work, because what you do matters, and it's important we look after ourselves and we look after one another, and churches look after us. But actually here today I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you as the youth work volunteer, as the youth worker, that you would hear these things and you would be able to put them into practice so that you can keep going, because young people rely on you, and you're going to make a difference, and you are making a difference. So the first thing I want to say is you need to protect your soul. And what I mean by that is that thing we know, that life of you, that restoration time away from the job. Because the biggest wrestle that I think I always have is, do we do youth work, or is it our calling? So therefore we do it all the time. Do we stop doing youth work? And actually a lot of the time we want people to see us as us, not just as us as a youth worker. And so we need to protect our soul. And I always really am encouraged by, if you look through the Gospels, I think Matthew particularly has it the most, where Jesus separates himself. And we know that the phrase, he goes up a mountainside, and he goes up somewhere away from the sort of traffic of the day. He goes up a mountainside away from distractions. He goes up a mountainside to be alone. And you often get it, he's either just about to go into an amazing sort of key bit of ministry, or he's coming out of it, or actually sometimes he's taking it to escape. There's that great bit challenging bit where he has to escape a crowd, so he almost escapes. And then even he takes, a few of his disciples up for this encounter. But he is all about this sort of protecting his soul. He knows that time with his Father, away from the traffic, away from the distractions, away from the work, is really important for his soul. But the balance is, isn't it, that we do that so that we can come down the mountain. Because you get that time where Jesus comes down the mountain, and it says he saw people and they were lost. They were harassed and helpless, like like sheep without a shepherd. That is the image that he had. And I wonder whether you get that image as a youth worker. Sometimes you look over your youth work, or you look over your school or the estate you work on, and you just see lost people. And so actually we look at that, and by the way we're wired, by the way God has embedded a calling on us, we want to do something about that. We want to speak into their lives. And we've probably all been on a plane, haven't we? And you've probably seen one of these. And, you know, the wonderful flight attendant does his great sort of instructions with it. And we know this is a really key bit of equipment. But what is the one thing we all know? We can almost memorize it. If you've not been on a plane, this is what he says. He says, make sure you secure your own face mask before you help somebody else. Because we know it's true, but I want you to hear it. On an airplane, if we haven't got oxygen, we can't help the person next to us. If in youth ministry, if we're trying to fill others from a place of emptiness, that is where we then burn out. That is where we get our sort of mental health crisis now, and our sort of, we're at conflict with ourselves. We can only give from a place where we are being filled. And Jesus going away, he was protecting his soul. He was almost filling his tank so that he could give back out. And we know how much he gave out. And I know how much as youth workers you give out. So point one, protect your soul. Carve out those times. The second thing I want to say is something that really has been clear to me in this last year particularly is the unscripted and in-between moments of youth work matter. And I'm amazed that the story I love is that story of the bleeding woman in, I think Mark and Luke has it. And it's Jesus on the way somewhere. It's not planned. I mean, Jesus knew it was going to happen, didn't he? But he's on the way somewhere else. He's on the way to Jairus' house to heal his daughter. And yet this encounter with the bleeding woman restores her after years of suffering. But it is an unscripted, on the way, in between encounter. And so we pour our energies into sort of big events and services. And yeah, we should be doing that. They're great times. But what about the sort of the cracks and crevices, the in-between times, the hidden times, the unplanned, the unscripted times where God can just say, this is what I've called you for at this time. We did an event a few weeks ago, and having spoke to the team afterwards, it was quite a hard event to run. It was all the restrictions that all of us are facing. But there was one moment one of the team reflected on, was sitting down with a couple of young people making hot chocolate ready to take out with someone. And they had these amazing conversations with two people, they didn't really know each other, and yet they were just sharing stories, sharing their soul. And it was a piece of youth work that we had done no planning for. It was unscripted. We didn't say, let's hang out and chat with kids while we make hot chocolate. It was just one of those things where God said, I want to do something here. And so actually, I love that Jesus in that moment, he picks someone out of the crowd. He sees her and picks her out of the crowd. What a deeply spiritual gift to see people amongst a bigger picture, amongst a noisy picture, and say, I need to be there. I need to speak to you. I need to be with you. And these small hidden encounters may not be seen by many people. They may not feel important. They're not very Instagrammable. You're not going to put them up as a post. But I can tell you, like that bleeding woman, they will change lives. That woman was restored health, peace, and back into her community because of that on the way, in between, from our perspective, an unscripted moment. Now, you can't plan for them. You can't prepare for them, but you can be ready for them. You can watch for them because they will be everywhere. And they are often the times where God just says, now, this is what I've called you for. And that's the key, isn't it? That God sees it. We don't want to be doing it so we're seen to be running an event, that we're up front. Look at us, aren't we great? What about the hidden things? God sees and says, well done, good and faithful servant. That is why I made you the way I did. Protect your soul. The in-between and unscripted moments matter. And lastly, something that's really close to my heart. You need to find your tribe. We talk about that phrase, the youth work tribe, a lot, don't we? But I want to tell you, for me, what it means to me. There was two guys that invested in me in my first year of youth work. They came over and had lunch with me every 2 weeks for about 4 years. And they invested in me. They listened to me rant. They helped me with ideas and guidance and wisdom. And as I look back over 25 years of youth and children's work, the one most important element that I've benefited from the most is is the allies, the tribe that I was part of. And back then I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how important it was. But now reflecting, as I sort of spend my time supporting young youth workers as they begin ministry, I say, find your tribe. Find people who get you. You know, they may have a different voice, but they've got a same message. But that variety is really important in our ministry, because then by having that sort of wider perspective, we will be able to connect with more people. You know, we don't ever want to gather people around us that are just like us, because that'll be a very, very dull place indeed. Even if you're the most interesting person, there is a whole bunch of lost people. And so actually by working with more people, by being part of a tribe, we will learn and explore things together, and we will discover, we will see how somebody sees God through a different pair of eyes, through a different story. These people are allies. You know, we want people that get us, that will fight for us. You know, that great image, so Moses fighting those battles, and then who does he have come alongside him when he's utterly weary? He has Aaron and Hur. Aaron and Hur hold his arms up, physically hold his arms up, place something under him so he can rest. But they are key. Moses was this big cheese in Old Testament, wasn't he? And yet without Aaron and Hur, he would have fallen. He would have lost that battle. So the Aaron and Hurs in our life, they are vital for longevity. They are vital for us to be able to keep going. And more than ever, particularly in my ministry, is that we need people that stay doing youth work, whether that's as a volunteer or paid, long term. Now, I know there's a bigger challenge out there with, how do we grow ourselves in our ministry? How do churches use us when we've been doing youth work a while? All of that are important, but longevity is key. And part of my longevity is that God has surrounded me with a bunch of allies, a tribe that gets me, that's willing to fight for me. One of my favourite authors is a guy called Erwin McManus, and in his book, The Last Arrow, which is phenomenal, by the way, he talks about finding your tribe and how important it is. He says, find a bunch of people you can do life and ministry with. People who have no selfish agenda, people who want the same thing as you, people who epitomise grace, humility and love. People who get you and want you to succeed. They don't want them to succeed at your expense or before you or ahead of you. They want you to succeed as well. They want and we want people that invest deeply in us and in God. And Erwin says, whenever he hangs out with a group of people, he wants their greatness to be contagious. He wants to learn from people, to bless and grow his own ministry. He says that's all he does whenever he hangs out with someone. He wants to grow. He wants to be like a sponge, because he knows those different voices, those people that say, I am with you, I'm in a tribe with you, I'm your ally, they will enable us to keep going. So find your tribe. Invest in a tribe, because you will be a blessing to somebody else. Lean on your tribe. They will enable you to last longer, to grow significantly, and be more fruitful. Protect your soul. Look out for the unscripted in-between moments, because they matter. And find your tribe. Be blessed.